All right. All is nothing. Keith, how are you all doing? Welcome, everyone. Today should be pretty fun. Should be pretty hype. Oh. Now, we can get out of this. Launch up the old OneNote. D&D Dungeons. All right, gamers, the plan today. We are going to design a dungeon together as chat and streamer. Yes, we are. The plan is simple. It's going to work pretty easily. Nothing crazy that we have to do. But essentially, we're going to start out with the layout, right? So for example, I'm going to start with the entrance and it's going to expand to a room. Now you guys, as the chat, are going to decide what is in this room, right? Do we have let me choose a different color. Do we maybe have a chest that's actually a mimic and it's a no-go? Do one of you have the creative idea that say, let's put 3 doors in here and put a puzzle for these doors? We are designing this together. We're also doing custom enemies, bosses, weapons, and things. Pretty creative stuff for the most part. I'm always down for. For the most part, let's definitely... Wifty, thank you very much for following. Over here now, welcome. So preferably anything that's just D&D monsters in general, mainly because the idea is that these dungeons are kind of meant to be universal. You know, just put them in any campaign and they work, is the objective. I'm not against any kind of creative monsters that you guys can think of. But that is the part. What are we up to? We are making a dungeon. Specifically, you guys are really making a dungeon. So, let's put it in text in case people join and they want to know what's going on. Chat is making a dungeon. I'm gonna make that font a lot bigger. So, as I've explained very quickly, the next TLDR, I'm going to give out the layout. You guys are going to tell me pretty much what's going to be in this room. I will take executive liberties at some points and say, yeah, we're going to do that, or no, we can't do that. So, let's start nice and simple, all right? Let's not go anything crazy yet. Let's just make it easy, and then we can start getting into complex things. So, we are going to start with the first room upon entering the dungeon. This is where I'm going to have to ask you guys some questions and we're going to have to vote. There's no guarantee that we have an even amount of people at the stream voting, and I don't want to wait along, so whoever gives me the best case for their argument is going to win it. Now, we need to start with the entrance to the dungeon. There's a couple classic ways. One is the cave entrance that we can do. Nice, easy, and simple. No one ever hates a cave. Option 2, it could be under some ruins, right? Pretend this is a destroyed, building. And, a half tower, whatever. All right, we got ruins here. This was the cave. What's another classic entrance? What is the general vice you're going for? What do you mean by vice? I have an idea for surrounding scape of the dungeon, essentially an extra dimension plane of existence. This is just kind of nowhere, floating rock type stuff. We could kind of do a 0G room. That could be a contender. Okay. Third entrance, they could be teleported there. This is another thing. They interact with some object in another place and they are teleported. Can't really present a thing for that other than them being teleported. What if we do an entrance that's an illusionary floor that you just randomly fall into? That way you only have one way to get out. You know what? Let's do that. Sure. So we're erasing all of this. Oh no, that's actually fun. We need to choose what exactly is this floor going to be on. Do we want to put it in a house? Do we want to put it in a tavern? Do we want to put it just on the city floor? In the middle of the forest? It needs to be in a place that is not crazy populated, probably, due to the fact that we don't want an insane amount of people in the dungeon. But also something that, you know, it makes sense you can throw it anywhere and they would be there. Put it in the void. It'd be tough to get them in the void in the first place. A moving hole? That is terrifying. For my own sanity, I'm gonna have to. I don't want to exist in a world that has that as a factor. That's terrible. Here's where we can easily put it. We could put it in a low-end tavern, kind of in a village. Nothing too crazy. It doesn't populate a crazy amount of people, but it is in the basement, right? How do I represent this? Here's ground floor, right? Oh, that's terrible. Here's the door. And in the basement is the illusionary floor. What are we going for? Ambient scary? You know, false floors belong to Forest Manor ruin that still stands even after a large fire from 2 years ago. You know what? Sure, let's go with that. We can actually pin a quest for them to go investigate it in the first place. I'll leave this for a vote. In general, I thought a general themed dungeon, but Halloween is tomorrow. So in the spirit of Halloween, we could make it a little more spooky. Honestly, knowing you guys, you're probably going to throw it there anyways. Okay. Our setting is a destroyed manor. Destroyed from the fire. We're just going to gray it out, but ooh. Buddy. Okay, I'm gonna make this text a little small. Let's go 22. Put it up here. Okay, let's get into the actual dungeon now. That's all we needed. This part, people can customize it, whatever. Point is, there's an illusionary floor they step into, and they come into the dungeon. If they're falling through, they're gonna start falling down through a little vent, probably. And then they're going to land in a square room. So, now we need to think about what's in this room. This is just Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, pretty much. A dungeon hole that moves and eats people in their sleep while they're in their manor. That is another possibility. So, this is kind of your creative decisions. If you can put it in a destroyed manor, like Keith said, but if you want it that it's a manor that's still alive and well, someone can invite them over, and in their sleep, slowly the party starts jumping down into this manor that's a trap. This could work. But landing in the mirror, we kind of want to go for shock value right at the start. The idea is they land and they are immediately tense. So what are we thinking? For one thing, we're going to need choices when they land. This could also split them up. So we need a couple doors. We're going to put 3 doors to be exact, the classic. Door 1, door 2, and door 3. If it has a thing they need to do to get in, it makes a much more interesting pit to the void. You know, there's the classic, they pull a lever or pull a book from a bookshelf and does it, but I'm not too concerned with the mechanics of them getting in. This is just kind of the theme and kind of just building an order to it, because ultimately this part's customizable by any DM. They could set up whatever portion here for A. As long as we get to B, we're fine. This is what we're making, really. For room 1, on the wall stones are seemingly random sketches without rhyme or reason. Okay, so we have random scripture here. We could put it in a language they don't understand. And we'll say it's all over the walls. Now, this is where we can have a couple things come into importance. If somebody happens to be a warlock, they could have the Eldritch Invocation that lets them read all text. So a warlock could get some clues on which door to choose. There is the Comprehend Languages spell that also works, so really any forecaster, but I guess we're going to put Comprehend Languages here. However, my compromise that I do sometimes when I don't want them to really read a whole text, but you have these feats and these invocations that say that you can learn any language, is the compromise is to give them some words, keywords. So if we have a warlock here, or we have someone casting Comprehend Languages, they're not going to get the full text, but there's some keywords we can give them that could help them make an educated guess. We now need to decide what those words will be. However, I'm going to think of also another idea. I think we should put another illusionary platform in the dungeon right here. Theoretically, they land, pretend this is okay. We're gonna say this is the middle where they land at, and there's just another fake platform probably right here if they try to like go back. If they do, they go deeper into another room, and we will, as we create this dungeon, create that room and decide which room they go in. For now, I can begin to draw out the next layouts. I'm thinking for this one, it's not a square. You know what? Actually, let's make it a long hallway that then goes into a circle. For this one, lots of curves. It's essentially going to be a maze. But I think what we do with this one is that the walls are closing tighter and tighter, forcing them to have to move very quickly. And if they don't have a natural movement speed or some creative way to get that fast, they get squished to death. I kind of want to move some of these around. Can I expand it on the left here? Ooh. There we go. Come over here so I have some space. Okay. You know what might be easier, guys, is... Give me 1 second. Be on standby. Oh, I'm messing things up. Huzzah, we could just put it here and delete this part. Okay, a little lower. There we go. All right. Some are magic runes without power. Others are world business icons. Maybe an unknown potion formula. Maybe just shorten it to dungeon. Yeah, I mean, I could. There we go. And then you guys are going to have to come over here. All right, I think we're ready. We're good. We're good. The only thing I need to do is okay. This next room, I say you just fall down a set of stairs. Just saying you're going down. There we go. Okay. So for this one, we know that this is going to be a crushing room or crushing hallway. For this one, do we want to put an enemy here? A mob? Circles are usually boss arenas. They make it nice. Or we can put another puzzle. Alright. Sometimes what I do when I have to figure it out myself. Speed things are not very fun in D&D as everyone is just kind of the same speed. Well, the idea isn't to make it like a challenge isn't devoid if it can easily be surpassed. It's just more there. You want to do a puzzle for this one? Sure, let's do that. The mechanic is just to make them do something. So the idea is that like I can look over here and say if you don't have 40 feet of movement, or let's say even 45, then you need to think of something to get the distance or get to that speed. And you know, you could say this will take you a total of like 3 turns to get to the end. If you don't get there, your character does get crushed. Some challenges are meant to be easy, but it is also to make that, you know, there is an advantage if you choose this door, right, over that door. So we're going to put a puzzle here. By the way, this is just a helpful tip. Whenever I used to make dungeons, I would kind of categorize like the different rooms I would want, right? So I would put like a puzzle. I would put a boss fight, a trap room, and then you can just put like miscellaneous for something, and then you can roll a d4 to see which one of these it gets. By boss, I don't mean like an actual boss fight, more of a mob. I should probably just clarify that. Oh boy. enemy. Pro skills. If you don't have expeditious retreat or something like that, yeah. Make it a puzzle with gears that when turn will open and close doors and turn rooms around in a maze that is connected to that puzzle room. So are you saying that there should be a separate maze somewhere else, and by interacting with these, that's what it does? Not a bad idea. Actually, what we can do is that whoever comes into this room, this is where they're gonna stay, and this is essentially almost like a command room. All right, we're cooking here. This is a good idea, nothing. So whoever stays here, oh shit, whatever. They're going to be interacting with levers that's overall going to start to mess with a maze. The question is, where do we want to put the maze? On the left, I'm kind of a fan of you go down and get to a fight. Why is the chat so delayed today? Is it? I have it set to 2 seconds, so I'm not sure what would delay it. Is it delayed on Twitch too, or is it just a YouTube thing? About 12 seconds delay. 12 seconds, pretty good. We used to get like 40 seconds or something. I have an idea for a boss room proper, but would be willing to put it closer to the end. Yeah, I mean, it's a known thing usually. I mean, it's always good to stick with the idea that at the end of a dungeon is the boss fight. Because you do that build up. Okay, crushing test is going to eventually lead to the maze. So we're gonna say that if you get here, you just go on a random path that's take you to this maze that we can then design. All right, the thing about mazes is everyone in D&D always likes to put mazes. For me, it's about a 30-second delay. Yeah, that time it was 30. Ugh. That is slightly tragic. We could still work with it. There just might be a little bit of awkward silence and me rambling on about stuff. But the point, as I was saying, was that the thing about mazes is I've seen them done probably about 10 to 15 times in D&D, and each time it kind of falls down to a level of I don't want to say cheesing, but very obvious exploits that the players find very quickly, and that ends up destroying it. So make rune skellies that upon death will shatter, dealing damage to everyone within 5 feet of them, and can reform in their connected runes. Oh, can reform if their connected runes are not found and destroyed. A cool idea is we could put the skeletons, the started skeletons, in the crushing hallways, and they could have little hands on the walls that are trying to pull them. Right? So there's like a bunch of hands here. And so as the players are trying to move through it, they have to make some dex saves, or else they're getting held by them for like a turn, right? So if you know that's going to take you 3 turns, you fail a dex save, you're now down to 2 turns because they're holding you. Let's do that as the start, and then we can put those skeletons later in as well. All right, dungeon restrictions. 1, it really depends on their level, if I'm being honest. Maze restrictions. It can't be open on the top. The reason for this is anyone that can fly, or this happened to me once I was a player. I shapeshifted into a spider and just walked up the ceiling to the top of it, and then I could, you know, find my way out. So that's what we don't want. So for example, if we were to look at this 3D, right? Man, how would I even draw this? I'm not a 3D artist. I cannot draw very well. Okay, the idea is that if you are in a dungeon, you need a ceiling on you at all times. If you're sitting here and you are just between two walls that are open, you could find, if you find any way to get on top of here, you could just run alongside the columns and just get to safety. So it needs to be closed off at the top, or else the maze will be quickly solved. The new skeleton idea for the maze reminds me of certain areas from Silent Hill 4. I've never played it, but if it does, and that's a good thing, then this is also a good thing. Second one, we need to stop. Can't have teleportation in a sense. This one's always iffy. I'm okay with stuff like Dimension Door. The reason why is because Dimension Door, you can teleport somewhere you've seen, or like that you know exists, a place. But if you're teleporting somewhere random, then there's a chance you spawn or teleport in like a rock or something, and you take a bunch of damage, and you don't actually teleport. You just take the damage and go back. So that part's kind of cool. The part that's always an issue is the actual teleport spell, or anything that can just get them out of there. This is usually a tough thing to restrict. So our two ways of doing this is that not actually restricting it, but removing the conditions that allow you to do it. First thing we do is that when you go down this ramp, it exceeds 400 feet. That way, they cannot... let me just do distance is greater than 400 feet. That way they can't Dimension Door back up or up somewhere. I believe Dimension Door is 400 feet, if I remember correctly. Let us quickly go find out. Oh. Accept. Nope, ignore that. I opened the wrong tab. Dimension Door. It's 500 feet. Okay, I stand a little mistaken. Good thing we checked, or else we'd be screwed. Anti-magic field. I don't want to do an anti-magic field because I still want them to cast spells. I just don't want them to cast those spells that get them out of it. Anti-magic fields I'd reserve for higher level dungeons. Yeah, because I mean, like, you don't ultimately want to screw over any spellcasters from the design. You still want them to do stuff. You just want to take away certain spells that you know kind of put a game over on what you're trying to do to them. Okay, so can't be open at the top. Can't allow easy teleporting out. That's the best way I could say it. This one's kind of personal, but some areas can't be broken into. So the best way I could say this is very early on, prefacing that there's different wall types. And because of that, some walls are easy to break, some walls are not easy to break. That way you could have players. So like right here, we're at the start of the maze, right? And Let's just draw random segments. I don't know what I'm drawing, but the idea is then I can grab some of these and say that's breakable, that's breakable, that's breakable, that's breakable. Are we not trying to torture them? We're trying to still make them have fun, as the objective with D&D is. We're trying to challenge them. Sometimes that challenge can be a little torturous, but delay test, yeah, let me know how it is on Twitch, because on YouTube it's a little scuffed. So yeah, our objective is not to cause them pain, but some of our challenges will be pain. About 6 seconds here on Twitch. I think that's normal. I think 5 seconds, no matter what you do, is always the delay. So I'm not so sure what I'm doing wrong on YouTube. All right, let's see what we got here. So if you just want to draw up the main structure. Oh, whoops. Oh no! I'm a bit of a goofball. I don't need to match its exact thing. I can leave some rooms kind of more open and vague. Let's do that. This is going to go over the chat, but it's fine. We're going to have a huge room over here. And then we're going to further divide it into a maze part. Move that up here. Okay. This is the part we really want to focus on. Because this is the part where I think we go back to what you were saying over here. The puzzle that uses the doors to interact with stuff. So, what exactly is our objective? We want to put an amount of door or levers that will do different stuff. I kind of have done something in the past that we're going to take inspiration from. We're not going to do it to an exact replica, but these will be the levers. Let's say there are, let's do 6 levers in total. Each lever is going to do something different to the maze. One of them will spawn monsters. Okay. One of these, let's say, changes the temperature. Oh my god, this is embarrassing. I haven't spelled temperature in a while. Am I trolling myself? Okay, there we go. Nah. I never said I was an English major. What did I have this at? 11.5. Ba-doom. Oh yeah. What other ideas we got? Think about them. One of these. Context idea. New large room has a hidden access to an old mineshaft. Minecraft logic. Make a hidden trapdoor that has a small chest with a diary and a bag of silver coins. Sure. Where do you want to put that? We could put it in the maze and... So let's put it here, I'm going to say. Loot, let's make it gold if we can. Does this work? That's like a brush. I don't, it works enough. This will be loot. So we could have a diary here, and it could be a document of someone who was in this maze, and each different couple of pages is them slowly getting crazier and crazier. Dead end in the maze. Actually, it's not a bad idea. We could do a dead end in the maze, and this is the reason why so many people end up perishing in it. The only way you can make it not a dead end is interacting with the right stuff here. Here's the issue. We need to devise a way for whoever's in the maze and whoever's in the puzzle room to communicate with each other. Otherwise, you would have to metagame, which is something we don't want to do. So we have a couple options here. Situation one is the person in the puzzle room can see the maze, but the people in the maze cannot see them back. So situation one, puzzle room can see maze, but not vice versa. Situation two, maze room, I guess maze people can the best way to say it is can interact with objects that give signals in the puzzle room. Situation three, puzzle and maze people can communicate briefly in certain areas. So what we can do is we can designate specific rooms that if the maze people enter in, right? So like, let's say theoretically they're in this room, they are able to talk to the people in the puzzle room. What can this do? This can open up a couple creative things. One is that you can't cast something like message to the person in the puzzle room, they're too far. But let's say theoretically there's two people in the maze room, one person who's sitting here and another person who's out exploring. They can cast a message to them, they can respond, and then they can communicate to the puzzle room guy. Or any other creative way they find of communicating to that person, or they have to spend a shit ton of time running back and forth to keep communicating, which is also something we're going to need to think about, is a time limit in the puzzle room to get them what's it called, like to put a sense of urgency. That's what I'm thinking of. What I'm thinking of is it slowly fills with sand or it slowly fills with water. I think I want to do sand. Sand's just makes a little more sense. So puzzle room is slowly filling with sand at this time, which means that if they rely on the method of someone running back and forth, puzzle room guy's going to run out of time. They have to either leave or suffocate to death, which makes maze person never able to succeed anyways. That is how we're going to devise this so far. I'm really glad you brought up the puzzle room thing. It works really well. And you putting the diary opened up my mind on allowing some kind of communication line. All right, so in that case, I think we go with situation 2 is the best. It's the most interactive. Oh, sorry, situation 3, not 2. Marked in pink. You can just put that over here. We need to decide what the rest of these levers do. So we have one that if they click it, it spawns monsters. One that changes the temperature. How about one that changes the terrain? And this is where we can get pretty creative, because we can make it that in some areas, for example, if that one of these puzzles can be that they need to change the terrain to snow and then up the temperature to be able to make water, and that water does something, or vice versa. Change the terrain to like a tropical or beach setting or something that has water, and then lower the temperature to make it into ice. That can be a cool puzzle. We can definitely do that. The control room has access to a few scrolls of scrying. Using the spellcasting rules for casting over spells from scrolls. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, kid. We could put as a little freebie. There is one chest. We'll put it over here. It has 3 scrolls of scrying, and we'll say 1 charge of ascending stone. One charge of a sending stone. This can allow the puzzle person to pick up the slack if the people over there are not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be doing. They can kind of observe and be like, yeah, that's, you guys need to step it up. I need to make this even smaller. Let's do like 8. Yeah, as small as it goes. Okay. One that makes the smell of ocean as a hint. Oh, for the room that you need to do that at? Yeah, we can definitely do that. The time consuming part is going to be making the actual rooms. Let's divide them first into, let's say right here's a route that you can go to immediately. This is a route, wall, a slanted route, and then one that goes down. This will be a closed off room. They'll need to do something to open this up. We will have so this is going to be less of a maze part. This part is going to just be the room itself, the challenge room. This one's going to take you up. This will be upstairs. And I think we do something where whoever's up here can look down and try to do some stuff. It's kind of like an observation deck. Over here, we're going to put another room. So there's the door. Once they solve it, they have 2 ways to go, which will then close off. I need to erase. Oh, can I erase that section specifically? No, I think it's because they're tied together. Let's make it brown. There we go. Okay. We're going to take a pause on that one real quick. Think about it for a little. We need to deal with these guys. So, if someone took this door and they went down, They go down into a room. I think in this room is where we start putting some objects for them to interact with and kind of solve a mystery, whatever that may be. So I'm thinking we put a couple chests here. Let's put a bookshelf. And a creature that is sleeping here. What kind of creature do we want? Any ideas? The objective for this room is going to be kind of either stealth or you're strong enough to fight it. But you are trying to retrieve some stuff while trying to stay stealthy. If you fail, you wake this up and it fights you. Or if you know you're suck at sneaking, you just go for the fight. We could put a sleeping displacer beast. That could be kind of cool. That'll be my first thought. We'll think about that. The worst thing you could put in a cave is a gelatinous cube, or sorry, a maze. So we're definitely gonna have to add that somewhere. And I think one of the levers can spawn one. I think the best way to say it is that this lever oh my god, I'm doing something wrong. A giant centipede as the thing that's sleeping, or that can be spawned. Let me know what you were thinking. Another idea is this. Opens a random wall. Okay, so I'm thinking that this opens a random wall. And what this also means. Yeah, let's do that there. Does that work? It works enough. What that also means is we need to put some monsters in here that are closed off in certain rooms. So all of these blank spaces will have creatures in them. Wanted more red. I'm just gonna type M for monster. This will have 3, let's say, just because it's a bigger one. So if a giant centipede's sleeping, yeah, let's do that. That'll work. Sleeping giant centipede. I hate centipedes so much. I am like more scared of centipedes than I am of spiders and snakes. And a snake spider, it doesn't matter. Centipedes scare me the most. The creature in room west is neutral to those who walk in. About the room with unapologetic confidence. It's a deception test. So you're saying if you just straight up walk in, it's gonna take that. I mean, I'll allow an intimidation check pretty much. Like if someone walks in and they just want to intimidate it, it's fair game. I'm new to D&D. Can you misty step into a wall of force? I am talking with a buddy and we are a bit confused. What can and cannot go inside of it? That's actually a good question. Let's check out the rulings for wall of force itself. My first instinct is to say that wall of force will push you out and you'll take damage, but you can teleport through a wall of force to get to the other side of it. So the important part is that it says it's an invisible wall, and Misty Step is you teleport something you can see. If the wall cuts through a creature's space when it appears, they're pushed to one side. Nothing can physically pass through the wall. Wall of Force supposedly provides total cover and prevents ethereal travel. This wall also extends to the ethereal plane and blocks ethereal travel through the wall. Yeah, I see what you mean. So I guess the way you would have to clarify it is you ask someone, do you think whenever you use teleportation magic that you're using ethereal travel to do so? If they want to say yes, then yes, this would block it. If they say no, and it's the magic-y magic thing of just appearing there, then that'll be fine. But in my personal thing, I would say it matters on the level of the spell you use for teleportation. So because Misty Step is a 2nd level spell trying to go through a 5th level spell, it won't work. But if you use something like Dimension Door, which is at 5th level or 4th level, man, I'm losing my touch. I think Dimension Door is definitely 4th level. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. If you pretty much use a teleportation spell that is at that level or higher, then you could have the ability to go through it. So in my opinion, you would need to materialize in the wall, so you would need to either physically travel through the wall or ethereally appear. Yeah, so the thing is that whenever they say physically move through, teleporting can negate that, but the only part is they also mention that ethereal plane is blocked and ethereal travel. This mainly stops people from going into the ethereal plane and walking through it, but yeah, I would say I'm honestly, I would not be mad on either ruling. On one side, if somebody teleports through this, you could say fair game that it's invisible, and because it's invisible, they can go through it. You have to find a different mechanic to solve it. But I can also see, hey, this is a 5th level spell. It says it blocks ethereal travel, so I'm going to say that blocks teleportation as well. I think both rulings are fine. It's kind of, what do you prefer? I know that's a little bit of the cop-out answer, but it's entirely something for the DM and the players to decide, because this also exerts rulings on everything else you guys do. Misty Step doesn't say it makes you ethereal, but I would understand how you could get inside. Something would need to go into the wall for you to get there. But if you use something higher, I would agree you can get in. Okay, this, like, the idea, though, it just comes in the fact of, do you guys think if somebody teleports that they are moving extremely fast to that location? Or are they like, let me erase the stick figure. I need height. Or do you think they, oh my goodness, my art skills. Do you think they essentially dematerialize and rematerialize at their new location? And that's how they travel. If your thing is option 1, then a Wall of Force would block that. But if it's option 2, then it wouldn't, because they're just essentially splitting their atoms magically and, you know, coming back over here. One of those things. It is definitely kind of the fun part about D&D. Either way, how does the material get inside the wall? They dematerialize and just reappear without targeting a spot to go for it. Sorry, let me read that again. Either way, how does the material get inside the wall? They dematerialize and just reappear without targeting a spot for it to go to. Oh, you're saying, like, even if they were to dematerialize, how do they go through the Wall of Force with that? It's one of those things where, because it's inherently magic, it is up to the DM to put their own rules and logic on magic, because it's inherently not logical. And that's kind of the thing about D&D is whatever plot hole you have, you can immediately fix it with a plank of wood that just says magic is the reason. But when you get into clarifying how that magic works, each DM is different. And so whatever ruling they want to do sets the standard on how it's going to work. They essentially make the laws of magic. If you feel like you can't justify why it shouldn't happen that way, then I would say that's something you should fight for, right? Be like, hey, I just can't wrap my head around this even being remotely possible, even if it's magical. I think then you plead your case with the DM and say, hey, this is something I don't want to run it this way. I would say if someone attempts to teleport, you roll on the chart of the other rooms and send them there. Oh, do you mean in general? Over here, or are you talking about for the example here? I'm not so sure. But I hope that gave some clarity. Personally, I would probably run it as you cannot travel through. Simply as a mechanic, I think it could be a cool defensive thing. Is if people are trying to get into a room that a caster can cast that spell, and it is a go find another way to do this. That could be kind of cool. So I'm kind of more of a fan of not allowing them to travel through. But keep in mind, it is also a 5th level spell, so it's significantly stronger than most that you would usually have casted on you. All right. So in that case, let me know if you have another question. We can. I'm always down to answer D&D hypothesis or hypotheticals rather. Okay, so you're saying that there's an overall field that if someone tries to teleport out, they essentially just get rerouted to a random room. Not against that, but I am also okay with them saying, hey, we're gonna teleport out, and as such you lose the dungeon and you don't get to get the loot at the end when they attempt to get into a guarded room. Oh yeah, like over here. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm also not against this. If they try to teleport through, they're now going to have to 1v1 a monster, right? And it's especially bad if they teleport in here. Now they have to 1v1 3 monsters. So it's definitely entirely on them to do a mistake like that. If you take a gamble. Okay, we need 2 more interactives with these puzzles. I can say one can drop aid. So pulling this lever drops a random useful item. This can be something like a healing potion, food, a vial of oil, something that can help them out. It's random though, so it could just be like, hey, here's a pretzel, have a nice snack, or something that's like, here's a scroll that lets you phase through a wall. We need one last interactable. What are we thinking? Spawn monster to release monster. Yes, sorry. You are technically correct. That is what I am. What I was thinking, more of how it works. Release monsters. Okay, keep in mind that the ones in the room are not the only monsters in here. There are also going to be monsters above. So here they are. We talked about a ceiling. There can be a hatch that opens that can just, like, you know, drop a spider on them. Huzzah. What danger level are we building? It's a good question. I was thinking in the realms of about levels 8 through 14, kind of around there. The high early game / low mid game in a way. So in that case, if they go in at 8th level is the lowest, like we're intending it to be. They don't have access to 5th level spells yet, but any higher they just get it. So it's around that range. And 5th level spells is when you start to get a lot of get out of jail free card spells. All right. I've done that in a wizard tower before. My play just wanted to get past the portcullis and then they end up in a spot 2 floors away. It's a good level of trolling. Okay, so real quick, back to the sleeping centipede. What we need to do is devise some reason of why they might want to sneak around and loot. We could do that. One of the keys is in these chests. One of the chests though is a mimic, and the door is over here. So essentially they need to get a key. We will say this one is a mimic. Let's draw it red because that's kind of what we've been using as monsters. We could say that the key is actually in the mimic, and the mimic is also asleep. So they need to reach their hand inside of the mimic and try to not wake it up. But they're in real trouble because if it does wake up, then it has a chance of waking up the giant centipede. And then they are in a big situation. Okay. Last switch idea opens a random door every time it's pulled. Doing so speeds up the sand, filling up the command room. Oh, okay, yeah, no, kid, that's actually a really good idea. So it's a huge buff in the fact that it will open up a random door. But also at the cost of increasing their sand speed. So whoever's in the control room does have the unique idea that they could violently or rapidly open up these levers, these random doors, and get them the win at the cost of sacrificing themselves by suffocation. Unless they can think of a creative way to not do that. Which part of the thing of problem solving is always thinking, if you were a player, what would you do? One of the things that I would probably do is man, this is, let me just do that. That solves it. This is, you know, probably not the greatest app for this, but it works. Okay, one of the things that they could do that I could totally see them do is Mage Hand. That's what I would probably do, is I would sit over here and use Mage Hand to pull the levers. So let's look at the rulings of Mage Hand and make sure that the room is too big for them to do that, or else we would be in trouble. Unseen Servant, that is also another good one. So Mage Hand is 30 feet. What we could do is use this room as just the anti-magic zone in general. Default speed, sand speed timer is 2 hours, then the switch speed pulls it up by 20 minutes per ball. I think we do the timing at the end. When we figured out everything, then we can scale the time, since we would have an idea of everything they would have to do. I like the ratio of what you're putting the switch speed to based on the total timer, but do you guys think 2 hours is too long? Okay, we are going to have to say that around this room is an anti-magic. I want purple. Okay. So there's an anti-magic field going inside of this. This can also restrict them for the reason of not using their spells for themselves to cast scrying or sending and negate the mechanic of people being in rooms to communicate. Yeah, there does need to be a zone of anti-magic somewhere. Yeah, I think putting it in the most important room that can affect everything is probably our best bet. In that case, we do need to choose a couple more pink rooms for them to be able to communicate. I think one thing we could do is this observation deck that we talked about. So if someone is in this section, they can communicate with what they see. The time really depends on how experienced your players are for the puzzle. Yes, it absolutely does. So I think what we can actually probably do, Draven, you bring up a good point, is scale the time based on their level / experience for you as the DM, but put preset timers as guidelines. You know, for example, hard, easy, and then like average, right? So easy can be like, you know, theoretically 2 hours. Average is like 1.5. And then hard is like you have like 45 minutes or something. That way, if they're a little higher leveled, you can just make it, put the timer as the main obstacle, so they got to be quick on their feet. But they are low leveled, give them the idea to use other things at their disposal. Another room I want to put is, for the pink room, is this area right here, specifically because it has the diary that we talked about earlier. Let me specify that the diary is in here. Inside this chest is a diary from a previous adventurer who can give clues to the dungeon ahead. All right. Cool. We got it. Question. AMZ, does this include all magic that is precast before the room or only used while in the room? So AMZ typically works at, it is a absolute field. So if somebody has magic and they step into it, it does dispel that magic. To make absolutely certain, we will go check it out, as we do with most things. Nope. Oh, Z-Master, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. I think my YouTube alerts might be down. So if anyone did that on YouTube, I apologize that I cannot see. I don't know why this anti-magic zone. I think it's field. Let's do anti-magic. It'll pop up. No, it won't. Okay, I know it's an 8th level spell. There it is. Anti-magic field. No one can cast spells, magic, actions, or create other magical effects inside the aura. Ongoing spells except those cast by an artifact or deity are suppressed in the area. While an effect is suppressed, it doesn't function, but its time spent counts against its duration. So yeah, if it is an artifact or a deity, which means a god, they get to surpass it, but other than that, it is suppressed. All right. What else can we think of? We have our levers and what they do. What we need to consider is the punishments of what happens. We need to devise a mechanic to not make it super easy once they figure it out. So my main idea here is one, so let me we'll type it over here, lever rules. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. We'll make this big and then the text below it small. Option 1 is you can't pull the same lever twice. This will have to force them to alternate to a different lever each time they pull one. I'll try to make a golem building thing. Oh, like a golem, like you have to build a golem, or there is a golem being built that will then try to absolutely destroy the party when it finds them. Okay, so we want to put a restriction that they can't pull the same lever twice, so that they can't just keep pulling the same thing. What else can we think of? Gotta use our creative brains here at 12:30 a.m. Change the images or rules of the levers or buttons each time they interact with them. That'd be a lot of inputs we would have to make if each time they pull them it does something different, unless you mean change the order where they go. Okay, actually this is something we could do, Josh, is we talked about earlier in the room that they go beforehand. There's a bunch of scribbles of nonsense in a language that is very ancient, so we can have it be every time a lever's pulled, the symbol switch and require an intelligence check to decipher new locations. But if your intelligence is above 18, you automatically succeed. And what this does is that if there is a wizard or an artificer, they just automatically can keep track of this and, you know, right place, right time kind of thing, or you go get the wizard in here or the artificer or some class that has intelligence. The only thing about 2 though is with 2 we don't really need 3, because I don't think they would pull the same lever twice if they see the symbols changing. Thoughts on this? For the random door lever, there are 10 possible doors it can open via bypassing the intended method. Yeah, we can organize 10 doors to go through it. It's not a bad idea at all. Okay. So for one, we've put rules that stop them from spamming the same lever. What we need to do now is put a punishment for using levers too quick or not doing it quick enough, if that kind of makes sense. Here's something we could do. Actually, that might be a little too brutal. Okay, what if this is gonna require a lot of math? And I'm okay with devising it as a DM, but it's always when you put math in front of the players, they will hate you for it. But I was thinking the idea that for essentially for every X amount of times you use a lever, one random lever gets filled up with sand and gets destroyed. You can't use it anymore. Now the only thing is that could potentially screw them over too quick than you want them to, and a little unfairly since it'll be random. How about this? How about each time you pull a lever, you have to make a roll. And if that roll fails, a random lever is also activated at the same time. And it could potentially be yours twice. Now the question is, do we want to make this random at all times or during certain pivotal points? Each time they interact with a switch, their HP goes down. You know, that could put a good synergy with like a wizard and a barbarian. If there's a wizard that can call out the symbols and the barbarian's just tanking it. But if it is just a wizard there, they will be screwed. With their 1d6 hit dice, they will die before they can do anything. Okay, how about actually going with your idea, Josh? What if each rotation of symbols rotating around, there is one trap lever, and if you pull that one, you happen to take a shit ton of damage? That's the fun. They have to use 3 times wisely. They have to use their time wisely. For the random useful item lever, it can be used twice, breaking on the second use. Your thoughts? I mean, if we want to do a mix of what Kid and Josh are saying, we could say that each lever can only be used a certain amount of times. And after you use it that amount of times, it will break and you can't use it anymore. However, we could put a special interaction that if you're an artificer, you can actually fix the levers and use them more, which can be a cool mechanic as an artificer to do. So, kind of a fan of that. Now, the question is, do we want to uniform all levers to being the same amount of charges? Or do we want to have different levers have different amount of charges? For example, having a higher amount of release monster charges than, you know, something like opening a wall is pretty favorable to make it a challenge, because it means they can spawn a lot of monsters instead of just 3 in total, or whatever amount we choose. Here's what I'm thinking on how we should balance this. All different charges, my vote. Yeah, because I'm thinking like changing terrain, rather more of like changing the season is the better way I can think of it. Right? And you have 4 of them. You have spring, summer, fall, winter. That could need a lot more charges than anything else. So let's choose. Trap lever drops a box of caltraps over the floor. In difficult terrain in the lever room. Ooh. Okay, I actually have an idea here too. With released monsters, they essentially roll to see which room it'll spawn in, but on a very, very low roll, it spawns in the puzzle room itself. So there's a chance to spawn in a puzzle room. There's a chance that they can spawn a mob in their room themselves. And now they have to fight it while also needing to pull levers, or the thing is going to start destroying levers. Let's do that. That'll be cool. In that case, though, we need to decide how many charges each thing has. So let's figure that out right now. Very, very, very quickly. Thing is the DM is free to change things as things go along, as you need to. You need to adapt stuff. So we could just put a general guideline. What is the end result of their time in the dungeon? Because we shouldn't overrun them too early. That is a pretty good question. For the most part, it is either a quest to do it, they want loot, or they want to level up. Once you tie in all three, that's obviously the best thing you could do. But you can't always guarantee that they'll pick up the quest to do it. You could always guarantee that there's loot and always guarantee that there's a level up. So these two categories, at least, are usually the only things you actually surprisingly need to have your parties get very passionate about suddenly doing the dungeon. I think the idea of what the reward would be, though, I'm always a fan of putting it at the end. Mainly because after I design the dungeon, I can see the amount of work that's needed to get done with it, the expected amount of work, and then I can give a reward that is supposed to be reflective of what they had to do. Sometimes in the past, I've kind of been like, oh, I should put an artifact level sword here. This will be a cool place to get it. And then I either overtune or undertune the dungeon, and in both circumstances, it is not good feedback. But I think this is something everyone should think about. In the back of your mind, just consider what kind of reward do we want to put at the end? Because worst comes to worst, we can open up a giant treasure room and put all the things you guys can think about. All right, back to finishing this up. We need to decide on how many charges. So, releasing monsters, I think, is an unlimited amount of charges. I don't mind this always coming to make the situation worse. Changing temperature, I'm going to say this has, let's say 10 charges. This isn't a big deal for them to change temperature. Can do really cool stuff, can do really bad stuff. It's more of their ability to be creative with it. Changing seasons is probably going to be an insane amount. Actually, because that's an insane amount, let's change from, let's do 7 for temperature. And then for changing seasons, we can do like 10. Actually, it's 4 seasons. We'll do 12, so they can do 3 rotations pretty much. Scroll of Scrying, this can only be done once. Oh, this is a chest. Never mind, ignore me. I usually open an extra dimensional space and give them whatever they need. Oh, for like the treasure room? Yeah, that's actually never a bad idea. Okay, we have 4 monster rooms. So we need at least 4 doors to open, but all those doors are bad. We need some good doors. This is a good door. That's a good door, and that's a good door. So 3 good doors. Let's put some more good doors. good door over here, a good door over here, and another good door over here. This is going to be a double good door because if you get to this observation deck, you have the best buff where you can communicate with the puzzle room and also look at the maze or the room of what's going on. They can identify the monsters up here. That being said, we are going to also represent the bad doors. That was actually probably a terrible color choice. More colors. Let's see. We'll just take yellow. Bad doors are also in play. We said 4, right? So every time they pull for a random door, we can do something like on... actually, do we have an even amount of good doors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, never mind. Point is, they have a chance of opening a yellow door or a brown door. Idea for the release monsters levers: it never breaks. 15% monsters in the command room, but does act as a drainage for the command room sand. Oh, okay. I actually like that mechanic, kid. So the more monsters you're willing to spawn, it will deplete sand, but you'll have to fight. This is actually a solid idea. Removes sand. Yeah, no, that's actually a fantastic move. Okay, that's a chest. Opens random walls. There's a lot of walls here. I'm gonna say this maybe we're gonna put it in the realm of 10 charges. Let me actually, now that I think about it, could have been way easier to just do this. I'm gonna take some time to fix that. In this random moment of me fixing this, I hope everybody's having a great night, having fun on the stream. I think we said 7 for this one. Hope your D&D adventures are going well if you're playing it. If you're not, I hope you will be soon. Alright, cool. It's fixed. Whoops. And then opens random door, but increases... Oh, opens random wall and door. Shoot. Why did I do that? Okay, let's get rid of random wall. We need to put something else here. I don't want to overlap those ideas. If anyone has ideas for these interactables, now's the time. Put on our thinking cap. How about it teleports a random player to a random room? Do you think that's a little too chaotic? Or random target, like a random creature? Because there's the chance that someone can get someone in the puzzle room with them. Or there's a chance they straight up spawn the sleeping giant centipede in the room with, you know, that person. It could be kind of fun. Yeah, let's do that. And we are going to put a ton charges on that one. So we're gonna say this is like 20 charges. And in case, I'm going to post a screenshot of this dungeon in our Discord if anyone wants to run it. Can't say that it will be organized, but if you need clarification, probably just rewind on the stream when it's posted and check it out. But man, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, the way you should decide where it teleports is roll a d4, right? And divide that into segments. So this is segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4. And then in that segment, make another roll to decide where it goes. Just read it. Put on the tinfoil hat. Yeah, exactly. Boom like a joke firecracker. It would be funny for one. You know, we could put like a... Just for you, Josh. We're going to put another lever here that if you pull it, it just plays a fart noise or something. Stabs them, electrocutes them. Just a little troll. Or it says yippee. Yeah. Alright. Drops a random useful item. We don't want a lot of these. I think this is going to just be 3. 3 charges of these. Could be very useful, could just be entirely useless. Opens a random door, increases speed. I'm gonna say you can do this 5 times. Oh wait, no, that's kind of troll because, well, no, yeah, we're gonna have to put a lot of these. I mean, honestly, this can be unlimited. We could justify it because it's also increasing sand speed. It has like an inherent debuff on it, so I'm actually cool with that. So this is an unlimited amount of times you could do this. We will have to make it though a net positive on this side that if you increase the sand speed, it increases it more than the monsters will remove it. So you can't be like, hey, I do this 15 times, do this 10 million times, right? But I mean, I guess they're also spawning a shit ton of monsters, so it's actually fine too. All right, in that case, are there any other things we need to think about as far as the ruling goes? The only thing we really need to do is go to our west side here. Assuming the person gets the key, opens up the door, they're going to get led to another room. Do we want to A, connect them to the final room here? Or B, give them additional rooms to have to go through? What do we think? Thank you for your future brain space. That's what we're all here for. Kind of a fan of making this a little more isolated from what's going on over here. Just in case for the slight chance that the entire party comes down here. So should it be a combat room? Monster lever must be used at a 2-to-1 ratio to counteract the bypass lever. Well, you know, in hindsight, it doesn't matter because we say it spawns a monster or releases a monster every time. So theoretically, if they, you know, pulled the random door 10 times and they do, let's say it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and they pull it 10 times to counteract it, they're also spawning 10 things that they have to fight, which will take them time as well. If not, probably just kill them. And these also spawn at random places. So it's kind of like, let's say you pull it 3 times and 2 monsters spawn on you, but 1 monster spawns like over here. you could fight these two, be able to do your things, and then this thing comes at a very inopportune moment for the third one. I think this is kind of traditionally how it goes, is when you devise like a mechanic for something and you want to give them paths of doing it the quote-unquote intended way of solving all these mechanics, or doing it through brute force, you make a brute force option, but it's very tough. So we could put a very, very dangerous fight here, which theoretically means they don't have to sorry, I got a text message. They don't have to do all of these shenanigans if they don't want to, but they have to fight something really big. This is important to do because if you have a team of, if you have a low intelligence party, they're probably going to kill themselves doing this. It's not going to be a good idea for them. It'll be a TPK real quick. So putting that option there, or if you would just have players that just prefer combat in general, that is also there. So this would mean that they go down the stairs, they potentially fight the centipede and the mimic, and they fight this thing. What is this thing? We need to decide. It needs to be a much harder fight than the maze room. On average. Obviously, the maze room could be the hardest fight, right? But that's like if they mess up. We could make it a giant. We could make it something undead. What else? Put on your thinking caps. For now, I'm going to say that it is a giant boulder. And when you break the boulder into smaller pieces, the smaller pieces still fight you. And they just need to beat a rock to death. Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with that. It is vague enough that you can put stupid health on it and stupid rules and make it tough. And it still works. Hell yeah. Boulder time. Cool. Figured it out. So, they fight the giant boulder. Assuming they succeed, though very few will ever succeed against the boulder. They get to take a nice little, under the boulder, actually, under the boulder, through several boulders, you'll find the route that takes you to the main treasure hall. Assuming they beat the dungeon over here, they will enter through here and also meet up in this room where we will have the treasure room. Cool. Now we need to think of the reward as well as some other things, but it is 12:50. We've had a good almost 2-hour stream, but we can finish this up and polish it on our next stream. Think about the rewards that we want to put in, think about other mechanics, other ideas. And if we had fun here, we could make another dungeon at another time. Oh no, HP and just awarded stone and waste their time. Yeah, actually what we could do, honestly, is this thing really can't die, but the door is under it. You just need to move the boulder And so it's kind of just this trick where they think they need to smash the boulder, but really you just got to move it. Or you ask it to move and control it. All right, with that being said, the odds of me streaming tomorrow are probably like 10% because it is Halloween. Unless plans really fall through, I might be live, but I would not count on it. That being said, I will be live on Friday, so I hope to see you guys there. We can finish up this dungeon, possibly make another if you guys are having fun, but tomorrow is Halloween. I hope everybody, it's technically today, but you get the idea. I hope everyone has a great Halloween. Enjoy it. Spend some time. With that, though, we are going to end the stream. Thank you for anyone who tuned in. You can find my channel on YouTube if you haven't. For anyone on Twitch, it is just Midnight Coffee. Exactly as it's kind of spelled on the stream. But we do have a Discord that you can stay tuned in to see when we go live, as well as post some other things. That being said, everybody have a good night. Enjoy a nice cup